Thank you, Acting President. I too rise to speak on Ms. Woolridge's motion on Westgate Tunnel Steel. I'd like to thank Mr. Melham for his contribution, and I'm very pleased he has mentioned quite a few things in his contribution, and I agree with what he has said in his contribution. I'm surprised that Mr. Finn doesn't like the Westgate Tunnel, because the constituents that I've spoken to and the people that I've spoken to in Western Metropolitan region, they can't wait.
Exactly.
They can't wait for this.
Exactly.
So I don't know which constituents is Mr. Finn referring to.
Who knows?
I have no idea. And the benefits of Westgate Tunnel, I don't know, maybe he hasn't read probably, because there's a big list of that. So I was surprised the way, and then people say that there are no big projects in Western suburb. Well, projects like Westgate Tunnel, when we are trying to put that in place, opposition doesn't want that. And come up with excuses. What? Flooding? I don't even understand the relationship of flooding, but anyway, I'll park it for the time being. I'm very proud on the commitments that were made by Daniel Andrews' government prior to 2014 election, prior to 2018 election. And guess what? We are getting on with our job in delivering those commitments.
That's right.
You know. And the biggest commitment, in addition to the other commitments that we have made, is the transport infrastructure project. I've already said in my inaugural speech about removing the congestion in Western Metropolitan region, and Westgate Tunnel is going to help us with that. Not only will it remove congestion, but it'll also help in creating jobs. This project, the Westgate Tunnel project, for that, we are buying Australian steel. In fact, for all other transport infrastructure projects, we are buying more Australian steel than ever before. And when we do that, we support our local industries, and also we help in creating local jobs. In fact, the Westgate Tunnel project is the project which is using Australian steel more than any other project that is currently underway in Australia.
There we go.
And to implement that, 135,000 tons of Australian steel contracts have been awarded to Australian steel suppliers. The Liberals' record is not great when it comes to transport infrastructure projects. Well, they didn't have to talk much about Australian steel because they did not have any projects.
That's true.
You can only talk about Australian steel if there are Australian projects. If there are no Australian projects, there's no need to worry about Australian steel.
That's right.
Okay? So you just stop there then. Exactly. And then, in case if there are projects, what you do is, why build when you can buy from overseas? You know, so when the time came to buy trains, why don't we go to South Korea, buy from there?
So true.
Easy. It's easy option. Very easy option. And when we do that, not only are we not buying contents which are local, but we are also not creating local jobs.
That's right.
Okay? And because of that, our apprentices, our trainees, our graduates, they don't get jobs.
Exactly.
Because what? We think it's a good idea to buy trains from South Korea. Okay. But Andrews' Labour government, we are not going to do the same. We are going to build our high-capacity metro trains right here in Victoria.
Exactly.
Okay? And because of that, Because of that, we will create 1,100 local jobs.
Yes.
With liberal governments, instead of creating jobs, they were busy what can we do so that more jobs are gone.
That's right.
More jobs were shed in construction industry during liberal government. For example, workers were laid off from Boral. What did liberals do at the time? Nothing. Sit around.
Well said.
So
It's true.
So there were no projects, no jobs, no local content to talk about, no Australian steel to talk about, nothing. Now we have come to government and we are delivering, because that's what we do. That's what we do, and that's why people voted us, because they wanted big infrastructure projects.
That's right.
That was the reason why they voted for us, because we say what we are going to do, and then what we do is exactly what we had said. Now, not only they don't give any big infrastructure projects, but they're very good at opposing.
That's true.
Very good. Every opportunity that they get, they will oppose. Any infrastructure project that we are building, promoting, they will bring out all the tactics to make sure that they block the projects that we are running. And the examples are, they try to block Melbourne Metro Tunnel, Westgate Tunnel, and also the suburban rail link. Well, they are in opposition, so their job is to oppose. Doesn't matter how big the infrastructure is and what the benefits are. They just want to sit and oppose. Doesn't matter how many jobs we are creating. Doesn't matter what the benefits are of these big projects. When it came to removing the level crossings, they did one thing, which was spread fear and give misinformation in the suburbs when it came to removing the level crossing. I mean, I really don't like getting stuck at, at the crossings. And we have removed level crossings, and the commitment that we have made, it's unparalleled.
Exactly.
But they don't like that. No, they don't. The suburban rail link project, which was opposed, it is the biggest, Australia's biggest ever project. And that is a project that will completely transform Melbourne. But again, as I said, opposition will oppose. They will, and they do that. So for Westgate Tunnel project, as I mentioned, the contracts for 135,000 tons of Australian steel have been already awarded to Australian steel suppliers. And that includes 100% of reinforcing steel and stressing strand. And these will be supplied by the Australian company Liberty. This is one of the biggest single steel orders in Australian history given to Liberty, which is 127,000 tons. Biggest single steel orders in Australian history. What does that say? That says we are building.
That's right.
For Westgate Tunnel, pedestrian bridges have been awarded again to a local fabricator. Noise walls are being constructed with Australian mill steel. Transurban has advised its commitment for 93% local content. 93%. 93%. You are not happy with 93%? Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. Just wants it overseas.
Okay. So with this project, 3,500 people are currently working on the project. It includes apprentices, trainees. And the project helps local workers, and not only that, but it also helps some people who needs extra help. For example, there'll be 500 jobs which will be dedicated to people who are entering the workforce, which are apprentices, trainees, graduates. There'll be job for former auto workers. There'll be recruitment for disadvantaged groups. And then there'll be pathways for newly arrived migrants, Aboriginal people, people from refugee backgrounds, and women. We are aware that a contract for steel bridge girders has been awarded to Chinese company ZPMC. We are not happy about it. We are extremely disappointed that this steel contract has not been awarded to a local provider. But we will explore options so that it doesn't happen again. And we'll put provisions in place so there are tougher requirements in future contracts. Victoria is spending on capital project in 1920, then the federal government is spending over the next 10 years. And there are so many big projects, and I'm really excited about that. And because of all these big projects that we are currently working on, the Victorian steel industry is experiencing growth, significant growth. There was a major decline, well, because there were no infrastructure projects before. Since we have come, there is a strong growth in Victorian steel industry. And I'm concluding by saying that during 2018, Victoria's engineering construction activity increased by 26.8%. It is the highest result of Australian states. And we have shown the increase where the national average has actually dropped by 34%. I'm really surprised that Ms. Woolridge has brought this motion. It's a waste of time. It should not be on this notice paper. And I reject this motion because we are talking about 93%, Mr. Bernie Finn, 93%, okay? Exactly. I will reiterate once again, in case if you guys have not heard. During 2018, Victoria's engineering construction activity increased by 26.8%. Are you guys not happy with that? Are you guys not happy with that? That is what I'm asking over here. That is the highest result of any Australian state, while there was a decline in the national average by 34%. I'm very happy with our result, and as a result, it should not be. It should not have been on this notice paper. It should not have been on this notice paper. And yes. And I reject this motion.